Hello, guys, and welcome to this week's ITFC Unrestricted podcast. I hope we've all had a good week. Yeah, it's getting busier and busier for me now. Really starting to get back into the swing of things at work. So hopefully we can still get these podcasts out as frequently as we have done during, the build up to the season and the past few weeks. But God, we've got so many games coming up, haven't we? We've got our FA Cup game to talk about this week as well. That's going to be something to pencil in for your calendars. But yeah, really busy week. So I won't hold you up too long and we'll get straight into the news, and then we'll see if Town can maintain their 100% winning record at home to Crewe Alexandra. So what's been going on this week in Ipswich Town?
News team, assemble!
Right, so the first bit of news was kind of seemingly leaked by Sky Sports News. It was officially announced on Monday, so we'll combine Sunday and Monday into one. But yeah, Kieran Dyer has returned to the club as the under-23s manager, so he'll be working alongside Terry Butcher, Jason Dizelle, Adam Ate and Brian Klug in the youth setup. So he replaces Gerard Nash. He's going to move up to work with the first team a little bit more. I think they said he's going to be scouting our opposition ahead of match days, so doing the due diligence there on our opponents and trying to find the best way to beat them. So that's good for Gerard, really. I think he'd been linked with some moves, some first full-time managerial jobs as opposed to being a youth setup, a manager in the youth setup. I think he'd been linked with a few back home in Ireland, hadn't he? So this will only help his experience, but it's good to see Kieran come back to the club as well. Kieran Dyer had previously been with our under-18s alongside Adam Ate, but left to pursue other opportunities in 2019. I think they had him and Craig Bellamy had their eye on sort of a managerial job together somewhere, and they were hoping that perhaps maybe their names would give them that opportunity. But I think Craig Bellamy in particular had an issue at Cardiff, didn't he, with the way he was managing and coaching his youth team players there. I think there was a problem where he was being a little bit, as we saw with Lambert's tough love, I think Craig Bellamy went a little bit too far with the way he was offering feedback on his players, we'll put it that way, to say the least. But yeah, for whatever reason it didn't work out, whether it was Bellamy's antics or not, or just in general wasn't experienced enough. Kieran's come back to the club. I know a lot of people had doubts surrounding his ability to become a manager. I think his reputation from his playing days have probably tarnished his name a little bit. He always had this sort of bad boy reputation. But, I think he's got a lot older and wiser. I've seen a lot of interviews with him recently where he seemingly matured as a man, as well as his knowledge of the game. He seems to be a lot more knowledgeable than he seemingly was in the past. And yeah, the main thing, I think he's got passion for Ipswich Town, and he wants the club to do well, wants to give players the opportunities that he got, and ultimately develop Ipswich Town as a club, and hopefully he can do that. And who knows where this may lead for him. He may ultimately become an Ipswich Town manager, first team manager later down the line, but we'll have to wait and see. But best of luck to Kieran. I hope it all works out for him, hopefully just for our sakes. But it's always great to see a legend back involved, and we just said there, we've got Kieran Dyer, Jason Dizelle, Terry Butcher, all working closely with our youth players. It's going to be really good to see more and more youth players come through. And obviously Jason's happy, his son Andre's doing really well in the first team. And yeah, hopefully he will be the first of many to go on to big things from Ipswich Town. Monday also saw Town drawn against Portsmouth in the first round of the FA Cup. It's a rarity to see two former winners drawn against each other in the first round, isn't it? But shows how far we've both fallen. Obviously Portsmouth had a monumental collapse. Not their fault, really. It was just the way the club was being run. And yeah, Town have just slowly crept towards League One for the last however many years. But yeah, it's a bit weird to see two former winners in the first round, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know how to feel about this tie, really. I don't know whether to feel disappointed that we didn't draw like a non-league side. Not that we would have been able to go to the game, or they would have not got their big away day at Portman Road. But yeah, I don't know whether it's disappointing or embarrassing, really, if we had got a a non-league minnow. Given our recent run in cup competitions, chances are we'll probably be favourites to get knocked out by one of these small sides. So perhaps getting knocked out by Portsmouth won't be a bad thing, because we're not going through, are we? Let's be honest. And I don't think we need a cup run this year, really. Like we said with the Carabao Cup, we only want a cup run to go for a big away day somewhere, don't we? You like some Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, wherever it may be. That's all we want a cup run for, really. Chances of us getting any further than sort of the fourth or fifth round, especially in the FA Cup, are really unlikely. So I'm sure Portsmouth will beat us once again. I think they beat us a couple of times before, haven't they? We had that game where was it Malachek got sent off? Ainsley Maitland-Niles scored a goal, absolute screamer, didn't he? But we ended up losing down at Fratton Park. I always remember the one with, I think Portsmouth were in the Premier League at the time. That might have been the year they won it, actually, when Liam Trotter got sent off against them for a tackle on Pedro Mendes, which I still attest to this day. I don't think that was a red card, but that might have just been me being a little bit young and naive about the world of football back then. But yeah, the game will be played on Saturday the 7th of November at Portman Road, 3 p.m. kickoff, and the game will be live on BBC and BT digital platforms, whatever that means. Is that free football streaming in 2020? Surely not. Move on to Tuesday. So if you've not listened to the mini match pod, you can hear a review of this game there. But we returned to winning ways and maintained our 100% home league record with a 1-0 victory over Gillingham. So great goal by Teddy Bishop. If you haven't seen it by now, definitely go and check that out. But yeah, you can hear more reaction to that on the mini match pod, as I just said. Or if you want an exaggerated and inaccurate version of events, then you can go and listen to Steve Evans' post-match interview, because it's the biggest load of tosh I've ever heard in my life. Following on for that, Wednesday, so Paul Lambert wasn't actually at the game on Tuesday. I don't know if that affected things on the pitch. Probably not. I don't think Gillingham were ever going to win that game. A draw was probably the best they could have hoped for, the way they were playing. But it was confirmed that Paul Lambert was not at Portman Road because Matt Gill had contracted coronavirus after a positive test. So Matt Gill, missed the Lincoln game. He didn't travel up for that. Lambert wasn't going to be on the touchline anyway on Tuesday because of his red card after that. A bit embarrassing, wasn't it, Paul? So he didn't attend the Gillingham victory as a precaution. But yeah, he got a test. He has been negative. I think he missed a few days of training after that just to be on the safe side. But it sounds like we've been really lucky not to actually have an outbreak of this. This has been the second case in 2 weeks involving either a player or a member of the coaching staff. Obviously, Caden Jackson was the first one to contract it, and now Matt Gill. We've seen so many fixtures called off because of this. I think we're really lucky that we haven't had a game called off or a big outbreak within the squad. And yeah, I guess that's a testament to how seriously we're taking this. Maybe we're blessed with a little bit more finances and facilities in order to be able to ensure that these outbreaks don't happen in comparison to some of the smaller clubs. But yeah, I'm sure it's something that is going to crop up later in the season. We are probably going to have a fixture postponement, whether it's because of outbreak at Portman Road or with the Ipswich squad, or whether it's our opponents. I think it's something we are going to have to deal with at some point this season. In other slightly Ipswich related news, the EFL trophy is now named the Papa John's Trophy. Yeah. Okay. Bloody hell, what a tin pot competition that is. Now, this is probably the biggest news of the week. If you haven't watched this now, what have you been doing the last few days? Andy Warren, you know Andy from Kings of Anglia and the East Anglian Daily Times. He has produced an absolutely terrific documentary about Town's 2000 playoff victory. So we get the game against Bolton in there, as well as the final against Barnsley that we all know about, and we all reminisce to this day, don't we? And yeah, absolutely fantastic piece. It's about 45 minutes long, but some great interviews with some Town fans, as well as many Ipswich Town legends who were not only featuring in the game, but a few players that that missed the game sadly. So obviously James Scowcroft got his injury, didn't he, in the game before the final. Kieran Dyer left the season before. It's great to see their insight on things, as well as the stars that took the headlines, the likes of Richard Naylor, Marcus Stewart, Tony Mowbray. It's really great to see from them. Some really heartfelt interviews in there as well. So I really recommend you check that out. I can't really do it justice with my words, because it is terrific. You can't help but smile when watching that. Obviously, it's a bit sad to see where we are at this moment in time, but you hope and pray that the good times will come again. But yeah, I know how much that season, I know it wasn't, we've seen Ipswich win the FA Cup, the UEFA Cup, the Division 1 title. Some people have been lucky enough to see all of them in their lifetime, but for so many people who are in their sort of late teens, early 20s, that run of seasons where we had a few failed playoff runs, for us to finally get over the line means so much to so many Town fans. So definitely check that out. And Andy, you've done a terrific job there, mate. I can't wait. Hopefully you can do one in a few years' time when we're reminiscing about our own promotions, for those who weren't sort of old enough to remember it. But yeah, fantastic as always. Thursday, usually a quiet Thursday, but we have a little bit of news to talk about this week. So it was finally confirmed that Ben Folami has joined Melbourne Victory in the Aussie A-League on loan until the end of the season. So I think this rumour was rumbling on about for the last few weeks, especially coming up to the transfer deadline, that Folami was looking likely to go out on loan back down to his native Australia. So yeah, it's good to see him get out there. I think it's a really good opportunity for him. He's been obviously involved in the youth setups with the Australian national team. I think he was with the under-23s in their Asia Cup. I don't quite know how it works down there with regards to, the Euros and qualification, all that sort of nonsense. It's a little bit complicated, especially like the Oceanic region as well. I think they're in Asia though, aren't they? They're now in the Asian sort of bracket of international competition. But yeah, I think for him on a personal level, it's a great opportunity for him to potentially get his first full Aussie cap. If he goes down there, features quite heavily, has a lot of games. I think the Aussie national team, it isn't quite as bright as it was sort of in the mid to late 2000s when you had your likes of Cahill, Viduka, Kuehl, Brett Emerton. It's not quite as star-studded as it is now, as it was then. Sorry. So, yeah, hopefully for him, he does actually get a lot of game time down there. He's had a few loan spells where he's not had the greatest amount of time on the pitch, and obviously we all know he's missed a lot of a lot of the past two seasons with injury. Did score this season in the EFL Trophy victory over Gillingham, but his game time was always going to be limited, with the likes of Jackson, Norwood, Hawkins, and now similarly Aaron Drennan ahead of him in the pecking order. Obviously, a few of those are injured at the moment, but even so, it doesn't look like his opportunities were very promising, especially when we're only playing one striker. So, yeah, hopefully it'll be mutually beneficial for both us as a club. Maybe Folami comes back as a better player. But for him as his own development, I think he'll develop as a player, getting more game time, obviously, and maybe it'll lead somewhere in his international career. It would be great to see someone come through the Town ranks and then go on to have a good international career once again. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Ben Folami back at Ipswich Town. If he has such a good loan spell, we could cash in, and yeah, obviously he's returned to his native Australia. I'm sure he's got friends and family down there that he'll be wanting to see. I think they've obviously got quite a severe lockdown over there, but in a normal year, he may want to, catch up with some family members, and maybe a permanent move may tug at the heartstrings and make him want to consider a permanent move down in Australia. But we wish him the best of luck anyway. Don't know where you can catch Aussie football. Hopefully we can see him on TV a few times. I know they do show it on... Is it on Sky? It might be on BT. I'm not sure. But yeah, best of luck to him anyway. Friday, we all know what Fridays are about, don't we, guys? It's press conference day. Paul Lambert was joined by Luke Wolfenden. the big talking point it always seems to be is injuries. Some positive news though. James Norwood and Tristan Nydam have returned to training following their respective injuries, so that's really good to hear. Obviously, haven't heard a lot about James Norwood since the drink driving incident, have we? So it's all gone a little bit quiet. So hopefully he's got his head down and focusing on getting fit and doing what we hope he can do on the pitch and score a lot of goals for us. Tristan, good to see him back in the first team picture. I'm not going to big up his chance too much, but I really think he could be sort of an ace up our sleeve, really, as a left back. We haven't seen a lot of him there, obviously down to injuries and not really being in the first team picture, but it could be a really good opportunity. And particularly, we've seen when we lost Stephen Ward the effect that Kenlock did okay. He did okay against Blackpool. The other two games, MK Dons and Doncaster, not so much. So if Tristan Nydam can be an able backup and potentially a solid long-term future option as a left-back for us, then, you know, I welcome his involvement in the first team. But like I said, I don't want to build that up too much. It's a really severe injury he's come back from, and maybe a loan spell before that happens, you know, before him getting involved in the first team will do him the world of good. So we'll have to see. Maybe in January he'll go out on loan. In other injury news, it's not really an injury, but he was absent, wasn't he? Paul Lambert also mentioned it was good to have Caden Jackson back for selection after, obviously, he had the injury before the season and then he had that positive COVID test. So, yeah, I think we've all been saying it. We are lacking goals from a striker. Freddie Sears, if you want to call him a striker, he's spent a lot of his time out wide, hasn't he? He's the only striker who has scored for us this season in the league. And yeah, I think I love Ollie Hawkins. I'll defend him to the hill. I love his off the ball work and what he contributes, but I don't think he's going to be contributing many goals, unfortunately. But it's good news that we could have both Jackson and Norwood back by the end of the month. And yeah, we've got a tough run in coming into December. They're definitely going to be needed, and we can't rely on our midfielders to score all the goals for us, as well as they have been playing at times this season. We do need a striker who can score goals as well if we are going to be in and around the promotion places this season. As we said, Luke Wolfenden joined Paul Lambert for media duties, and Wolfie was very much a topic of conversation. The old kick up the arse phrase came up once again. I'm still really baffled by that. But Wolfie seemed to take it on the chin and move forward. I'm really glad to see him back in the first team, and I really hope he can form a solid partnership with Tuesday's debutant Mark McGuinness. We've got the experience of Stephen Ward and Luke Chambers either side, and I think looking at how we play, and something that Wolfie mentioned was how he was enjoying how we are playing out from the back, getting him involved in build-up play and starting attacks. If you were to pick two, it was obviously McGuinness and Wolfie are going to be the two you think, yep, they're going to be comfortable on the ball and able to help us progress with this style of play. That was certainly evident on Tuesday. I know the second half was a little bit scary at times, but it's going to take time for them to develop a partnership, isn't it? They're two really young centre halves, but they're more than comfortable on the ball. And then you add in the likes of Andre Dizelle, Stephen Ward, Luke Chambers. They've all got good range of passing between them, some more than others at times. But I think we're certainly better equipped now to play our 4-3-3 possession-based football than we were with the players who lined up at the start of the season. I think they did play well. I don't think we can take that away from the likes of Toto and James Wilson, and you'd even say, I'd say the likes of John Noland at midfield. But the players we've got in there now, I think, are going to help us kick on to that next level. I really hope we do. But as we said on Tuesday, we should be beating the likes of Gillingham, and as we're going to move on to now, we should be beating the likes of Crewe Alexandra. So that'll do us for the news for this week then, guys. So we'll see if Town can once again continue their 100% league record at home, this time to Crewe Alexandra. I highly doubt we've got another 6-4, 6-4 from the Joe Royal years. What a cracking game that was. Bit of a bonkers game, to be honest, but yeah, I'll happily take a 1-0 win. I'm recording this on the Saturday before the game. So let's see how we got on against Crewe Alexandra. Right, final score. Ipswich Town 1, Crewe Alexandra 0. Got there in the end, didn't we? Bloody hell, that was a painful watch. Right, we'll go through the action as we always do. So Town made one change to the starting 11 that defeated Gillingham in midweek, with Alan Judge coming in for Jack Lancaster. I think that was a little bit harsh on Jack. I think he deserved another opportunity from the start, but looks like Alan Judge gets his place in the starting 11 once again. It seems to be a bit of a favourite with Paul Lambert, doesn't he? Caden Jackson also returned to the bench, which was good to see. We've definitely missed having another senior striker off the bench, so hopefully as the weeks go by he'll be able to contribute. Obviously yet to score this season, but barely featured, has he? So yeah, getting into the game, really positive start from the visitors. Crewe really looking like the better side, and they certainly were for the whole of the first half, and perhaps for the whole of the game, to be honest. A dangerous set piece from Pickering, just on the left hand side of the Town box, almost finds a Crewe head unmarked. This was about after 5 minutes. The player just missing the ball. I think it was offered at the back. Holy's there, kind of caught in no man's land, and the ball just deflects off his hands and away. Real dangerous moment there for Crewe. If Offord had got even the slightest of touch, I think that would have looped over or just past Thomas Holy. So yeah, really dangerous start, and it was all Crewe in this first half. Another chance for the visitors. Long ball well controlled by Dale on the right flank for Crewe. Turns Ward's inside out, jinking inside and then back out wide. Driving past the Town left back, firing across the face of the goal, but a really good save down to his right hand side for Thomas Holy. And like I said, they're well on top for the opening 15 minutes at least. Town restricted to their possession in their own half, being pressed really well. The only times we were ever sort of trying to create something was hitting it long and hopeful for either Hawkins or Sears, but neither of them were really having a great afternoon in the first half, with being able to bring either others into the game or getting in behind themselves. Another chance for Crewe. Good work between Dale and NG down the Crewe right. NG uses Dale as a dummy. Got Ward and Bishop there shaping up against NG and Dale. NG is just on the outside of the box. Squares shapes up against Bishop, looks to feint the pass to and to Dale, but cuts inside and has a low effort, but saved comfortably low than they post by Thomas Holy once again. And the Crewe really should be ahead here. Cute passing between Ainley, Kirk and Pickering down the left for Crewe. Really nice build-up play, little flicks and one-touch pass in between them. Pickering stands the ball up to the back post, it evades Ward. I think he gets caught under the flight of the ball really. Dale is there at the back post, heads it back into the area. Lowry's arriving, but Holy just throws himself in the way, makes himself really big. That 6'9" frame coming into good use here, and it blocks the shot, and that's a really big let off for Town. We hadn't created anything to this point, and to be honest, I can't even recall a chance in the first half for us. We were that poor going forward. Another dangerous cross from NG just after this that forces Holy to come out and intercept. And yeah, like I said, it had been all Crewe. I think Town's closest efforts had purely been by chance. We had a few which either deflected to Ollie. I think Holly Hawkins had a cross from Stephen Ward which deflected off a Crewe defender on its way to Hawkins, and it deflected off a Crewe player to go out for a corner, so it couldn't actually get on target. And then we had another chance where it just went wide from Sears, cross from Edwards. The ball deflects off a Crewe defender and it just hits Freddie Sears in stride. So it wasn't even an intended effort on goal. And I'd say that first half was probably the worst first half we've had this season by a long, long way. I think in every other game, despite being behind against Doncaster, we were very much more in that game. Crewe had all the ball, all the shots, 4 shots, all on target, producing some good saves from the keeper. And for us, it's just the same old story, really. Hawkins left up top on his own, bless him. Midfield going into their shells, and really ineffective to non-existent wide play from both Sears and Edwards in that first half. And yeah, we're restricted just hit and hope with little to no success really. Hawkins can only do so much up there on his own, bless him. So yeah, and we're all sitting there at half time and like, right, Lambert's got to change this now. We need to get a foothold in the game, whether it's just bringing on the likes of Hughes in midfield to try and gain a foothold in the game, or changing the striker, putting Jackson in to stretch Crewe a little bit. But Lambert decides to make no subs, which we're more than used to under his tenure. And we do get quite lucky at the start of the second half. Crewe give Town a corner early on. Really poor back pass from Dale, who had a really good game up until this point. Just completely mishit and goes straight behind for a corner. The corner is cleared, but Town recycle the ball, managed to work it out to Bishop, who's on the left flank. He beats his man, gets his cross in. My I follow cut out at this point, which gave us an EastEnders style cliffhanger, but I managed to catch the replay when I tuned back into the I follow stream. It got cleared as far as Dazelle. He's on the edge of the box and he has an effort, but it's deflected over by Beckles. He kind of turns and it deflects off his back and over the bar. But Town had a little bit more possession and patiently trying to build attack as the second half wore on. Didn't have much success, but we were getting on the ball a lot more and actually getting into some areas. We do actually finally force a save from Will Jaskalainen, that is Jussi Jaskalainen's son, for any Premier League Naughties fans. Well, he was there in the playoff run, wasn't he, that we spoke about earlier in the video. It's Ward who delivers a good cross from the left, which finds Hawkins. He manages to stoop low whilst wrestling with his man to head towards goal, but it's quite a comfortable save for Jaskalainen in goal. But it's an opening. But yeah, we started to grow into the game from this point onwards, really. Hawkins was holding the ball up quite well at this point and creating a few chances for his teammates. I think we've managed to force a corner. Town take it really quickly, and it is a goal for Town, and it's a goal for Ollie Hawkins. Thank fuck for that, because I love that man. He's worked so hard up until this point, doing a thankless task up front. Had a lot of critics along the way, but it's great to see him finally get underway with us and on the score sheet. So Town takes short corners, Crewe switch off, Judge whips the ball in. Hawkins is there, Chambers is involved as well, and a combination of the two. I think it is Hawkins. It was initially credited to Luke Chambers, but Hawkins meets the ball and manages to head the ball home for his first goal. And yeah, completely against the run of play, really. For the majority of the game, Crewe were well on top, but we'll take it. And like I said, I'm so happy for Ollie Hawkins, and hopefully this will be the first of many for him. Crewe do come back immediately, working the ball well down their right flank. Lowry dances his way through the Town defence, fires an effort. He's at a tight angle, fires the effort with power at Foley, the near post, but the big check keeper saves well. The resulting corner sees Crewe take a leaf out of Town's book, take it short, work the angle to cross it in, and Crewe win the header, but force yet a really good save out of Thomas Foley down to his right. Probably Crewe's best chance in the second half, I'd say, and they're really pushing for this equaliser. Town kind of going back to how they were in the first half, restricted to their possession in the first half, long and hopeful balls out and trying to catch Crewe on the counter. But to be fair to the two young centre halves, Wolford and McGuinness, with some really solid and resolute defending at the end, putting their bodies on the line where it matters, winning the headers, winning the second balls and clearing well, and that really did deny Crewe any sight of goal. And then as you're getting into the dying embers, it's really backs to the wall stuff. We're defending on the edge of our box for the majority of the time here. Crewe did have a penalty appeal waved away. The Crewe man goes down from a challenge from Judge from behind. Probably on another day they probably would have had a penalty, particularly with who the referee was. Trevor Kettle's quite infamous in League One, isn't he? He's not the best referee about, but yeah, we hold on somehow, some way. We get there in the end, maintain our 100% home league record in rather unconvincing fashion, to be honest. I think Crewe can really feel hard done by, as they were by far and away the better side for the majority of the game. Played some lovely stuff. I know when we spoke to Stuart, he said they had a philosophy and style of play, and that was fully on show today. I think on another day they probably would have at least got a point out of this game. But we'll take the 3 points. Thank you very much. Definitely good to see us follow up Tuesday's performance. It was a very similar tale, really. We're probably a little bit better on Tuesday. but we never looked like scoring in this game until we did, if that makes sense. The chances that we were having both on Tuesday and today were really poor chances, and you're hoping for a miracle that one of them goes in. But then we somehow, a little bit of quality, a little bit of clever play in both games has ultimately led to us winning the game. But yeah, I'm still not convinced. I still think we're playing very much the same football as last season at times, where you just think we don't have that ability to kill games off. Obviously, they're proving us wrong with the results, but like I said on Tuesday, you expect to beat sides like Gillingham, you expect to beat sides like Crewe Alexandra. The test on Tuesday, which is Sunderland, is going to be the toughest test we've faced this season, and this will really test our mettle as to where this squad is at. We've had games against promotion rivals, the likes of Lincoln and Doncaster, and we've looked second best. Sunderland, arguably the best squad in the division, certainly the biggest club in the division, along with ourselves and Portsmouth. So that's where the test starts. We don't need to talk too much about Sunderland. We all know the test they're going to offer. They've got some fantastic players. Phil Parkinson, not the flashiest manager, but he's got them playing some really good football, and they're really resolute and solid this season. Perhaps last season was a little bit of a experimental year for him to try and work out what he needed from his squad. They seem to have cracked the formula now, and barring a few results, they drew with Bristol Rovers, but they've picked up some really good form and probably look the most dangerous they have since they got relegated to the days when they had Josh Madgen. You go through the players that they've got. You've got the likes of Bailey Wright, who probably is far too good for League One on another year. Maybe he's playing in the Championship. Chris Maguire, always a threat, probably one of the best wide men attacking midfielders that there is in this division. Charlie Wyke didn't have a great year last year, but started really well this year. Luke O'Nine, really good player. Lyndon Gooch, Max Power, George Dobson. The list goes on. Really high quality squad, right up there with one of the best in the division. And yeah, we're going to have to be on our A game if we want to get anything from this game. But we'll talk about that in the mini match pod on Thursday. Obviously, we've got the FA Cup game to talk about. Build up to that as well. Not quite as much as a comprehensive build up as we usually would for a league fixture, because let's be honest, we know how FA Cup ties go, don't we? So we'll just finish off with the player ratings. Bit of a mixed bag this week. As always, these are out of 10, and if you think I've got it wrong, and I think I've been too harsh, I know Stephen Lancaster thinks I've been a little bit harsh this week, and we'll get on to Jack's rating a little bit later on, but it's just my opinion. I like to have a good hearty debate about it after the game, so feel free to come and have a moan at me on Twitter. That's what it's there for, isn't it? So Thomas Holy, he's gone up and up and up. He's had some really poor ratings last week, but he's got 7, and this week he's gone up to an 8. I think without his performance today, a pure goalkeeping performance, keeping the ball out of the net as what is the main goal, the main role of a goalkeeper. Really fantastic saves. I think you could pick out at least 3 where he stopped Crewe from scoring, and ultimately that's what led us to win the game. Luke Chambers gave him a 7. I think he had a solid game, and towards the end I think his leadership did actually help us get through the game. Not a lot came down the Crewe left hand side in either half, really. Charlie Kirk was quite dangerous, but that was more when they caught us on the counter as opposed to when the back four was fully in place. Luke Wolfenden gave him a 7. Did get beat a few times by Charlie Kirk in the first half, but I think the way that he held out along with his defensive partner and the defence as a whole towards the end of the game when we were really up against it really shows that he's starting to mature as a player, and a really solid performance from Wolfie once again. Same for Mark McGuinness, gave him a 7. You can really see the quality that he brings to the squad. Quite an old school defending mindset, heads and kicks every ball, but like with James Wilson, that is what James Wilson usually does. McGuinness has got that quality on the ball and does look quite composed when playing out from the back. So another good performance from him, and I look to see how he grows in confidence and stature over the season. Stephen Ward gave him a 6. A little bit of a torrid afternoon. I think NG and Dale gave him a really hard time, particularly in the first half. And again, without the heroics of Foley, I think one of the chances, particularly that one in the first half where Lowry had the effort saved by Foley from about 6 yards out, Stephen Ward did get caught under the ball there, and that was down to him losing his man. But Wardy, as we always say, you expect the minimum of a 6 out of 10, and he did get forward well. Looked threatening when he put crosses into the box as well, which is what we like to see from Stephen Ward. So another good performance from Wardy. I can't dig him out too much. Andre Dazelle, 6. Controlled the pace quite well in midfield. Went missing at times, but we expect that from our midfield at times this season. But as the game went on, I think he controlled the game well and a little bit better defensively today, I think, as well. Teddy Bishop gave him a 6. Out of the midfield 3, probably would say he was the best performer out of them. Looked positive, tried to get things going. Not as good as he was on Tuesday night or what we've seen in previous games, but still another fairly solid performance from Teddy Bishop. Alan Judge, maybe a little bit harsh here. He did set up the goal. I did give him a 5. There's just times when maybe it's just when I'm looking up, but it seems to be Alan Judge is misplacing a pass, or the pass doesn't quite reach, or his legs seem to have gone a little bit. I don't know whether it's just age or that injury that he had. He just doesn't seem to have that explosiveness in his passing and shooting nowadays, and the corners have been a mixed bag over the years as well. Obviously it did contribute to the goal today, but it's a hard one with Alan Judge. I really do struggle to see. I think we have high expectations for Alan Judge, don't we? And we're often disappointed, which is ultimately where that sums up Alan Judge's time at Ipswich. Quite disappointing, to be honest. Graham Edwards gave him a 5, maybe a little bit harsh. Did get some good runs underway, but I did think his decision making was pretty poor. Crossing wasn't particularly great, and when he did go on runs, he was often running down cul-de-sacs and giving the ball away. Ollie Hawkins gave him a 7. Obviously got the goal, but I think he had the thankless task of trying to bring others into the game against Beckles, who's quite a big physical defender. But I think he did his job really well, as he always does. I'll always defend Ollie Hawkins. And yeah, I'm really fucking delighted to see him get that goal, because that would get a few people off his back at least, particularly as it was the only goal in the game. Freddie Sears, really quiet game for Freddie, only gave him a 5. Just not really involved, certainly, at least on Tuesday, as much as he didn't have the best performance in front of goal, at least he was contributing today. Didn't really see a lot from Freddie. Then we move on to the subs. Caden Jackson gets a 6. I think he did well when he came on, tried to stretch the play, caught offside a few times, but you expect that with Caden Jackson, don't you? Jack Lancaster, sorry Stephen, I did give him a 5. I think the unfortunate thing for him was we were very much backs against the wall trying to defend this lead. It's hard for Jack to come on and impose himself and be that creative force when the other side is on top. He's got to do a lot more defensive work. So, yeah, I hope Jack gets more opportunities. I think he'll come back in to start on Saturday at the very least. Would be good to see a few other faces, the likes of the next man, Keenan Bennett, who he's just Anthony Georgiou from last season, isn't he? Just comes on for 10 minutes, does a little bit, and that's about it, usually when the game's dead and buried. So I want to see more from Keenan Bennett, and I think we need to give him that start against Portsmouth in the FA Cup. That'd be a good test against high calibre opposition at the level we're playing at. And we just need to see what he offers. We've got him for the whole season. I'm sure Mitch and Gladbach want us to feature him more than we have done this season. So hopefully we see a little bit more from Keenan Bennett in the coming weeks. And as for the opposition, Crewe gave him 7 out of 10. I think they were very good today. Really unlucky not to come away with the win, I think. Deserve the point at the very least. But yeah, just in front of goal, I think they're lacking that striker. As much as Mandron was on there, quite a big physical threat, a bit like Hawkins, holds the ball up well and brings others into the game. Maybe they just need that striker that's going to score 10, 15 goals this season. But we'll see. They're mid-table. I think the way they play, they'll certainly be a test for many sides in this division. They certainly prove they're no pushovers. But yeah, unfortunately it wasn't enough today, and we're luckily for us came away with a win. But as I said, not going to get too carried away with this 100% home record. I've mentioned it a lot in this podcast, but we've got stiffer tests to come, and that all starts on Tuesday night. That's when the tough one really begins. We've got Sunderland on Tuesday. We've also got Hull in November. We've got Shrewsbury in there as well, who aren't going to be so much of a threat. But then you get into December when we've got Plymouth, who shouldn't be underestimated either. Really good attacking side coming up from League Two. Got Peterborough in there. Oxford, who may not have started the season very well. They're always a stern test. We've got Peterborough, as I said, Portsmouth in the league in that run as well. We've also got the Charlton game to fit in there once it's rearranged. So yeah, we're now going to find out how good this squad is, and we really want to see some faces come back in. Hopefully James Norwood won't be too far away. I do still believe we really miss Flynn Downs and his influence in midfield, that bite and fight in midfield that we get with Flynn Downs and the quality he offers. I think we do really miss that, but hopefully we can carry this winning form on. But Tuesday's going to be a big test. I think we all know that. And yeah, like I said, we'll be back on Thursday to see how we got on in that one. But yeah, onwards and upwards. 2 wins in a week. This always makes the week a little bit sweeter, doesn't it? Thank you for watching or listening to this week's ITFC Unrestricted podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer and TuneIn. If you haven't already, make sure you follow, download or subscribe so you never miss an episode wherever you are listening. A new episode will be live on all platforms at 6 p.m. every Sunday. For more immediate reaction to all the latest town news, give me a follow on Twitter at rskid26. Go on, you know you want to. Until next week, I've been your host, Mark Beck. So take what you need, be on your way, and keep on following town.